Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome to a new What If story. Today, it's gonna be a crazy one. Might be a long one. I really never know the times as I start talking about this, of course, but I wrote this one out. It's pretty crazy. So sit back, relax. What if Ahsoka joined Vader on Malachor? What if Vader and Ahsoka basically joined together? It'll be fun. It's gonna, again, get pretty crazy. So don't get mad. A lot of plot holes, but that's why it's fun. So enjoy. Let's get right into it. And of course, please do leave a like. Please subscribe. It helps more than you know. Thank you. All right, right now. Ahsoka was running up the Sith Temple in Malachor. She couldn't believe what was happening around her. She was fighting her old master, Anakin Skywalker. But it wasn't him. Not really. The last time she'd seen Anakin, he was the joyous master that she knew. He always carried a deep sadness around him. But now that sadness, that anger, it allowed the Emperor to turn him into this monster. He was evil, but Anakin was still there. He had to be. She ran up the temple stairs, ready to engage in battle again. She had to give Anakin a chance to truly escape. When she reached up the top, Vader was pulling Ezra and Kanan towards him as Ahsoka sprinted. She then leapt into the air and slashed at Vader's mask, revealing both of his eyes. She looked up at him, pushed Kanan and Ezra into their ship, and it was now just the two of them. She would find Anakin, or she would die trying. This is Darth Vader, the most powerful being in the galaxy, behind only the Emperor that he serves. Formerly Anakin Skywalker, consumed by the dark side of the Force in order to save his wife. Now surviving only to give himself to the Force, to kill every remaining Jedi, to bring peace to the galaxy, to end war that resulted in the death of his wife. Vader wanted the fighting to stop so desperately all those years ago. Wanted it to stop, to have a real life with his wife. Now, he wasn't sure he had any life without fighting, without war. He walked around in a menacing armor machine, but inside he carried a deep sadness that nobody could see. Inside of the armor hid Anakin Skywalker, afraid to ever re-emerge for fear of the emotions he would reveal. Anakin knew what Vader refused to admit, that he was a failure. He was everything Padme would have hated. Anakin was the man Padme would have loved, and she would have hated Vader. So, in Vader's mind, Anakin was dead. And here was Darth Vader now, standing behind the former apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano. Vader had his mask cut, and with his own two eyes, he looked up at her. "Ahsoka," he said through a slightly damaged voice box, and seeing her with both of his own eyes, rather than just the terrifying red through his mask lens, allowed just a bit of Anakin to escape. Vader tried to push it back down as Ahsoka spoke to him now. Her voice was soft, calm, not afraid. It was just sad. "Anakin," she said to him as she put her lightsabers away. She was here now, willing to die just for a chance to talk to Anakin. So be it, thought Vader, and he let Anakin out, but he vowed to himself that he would kill Anakin again momentarily. Then he put his own saber away and tried to speak, but could only say her name again. "Ahsoka," Anakin said, this time carrying much more sadness. "What happened to you?" she asked. "How did you allow this to happen to yourself? You were the greatest of the Jedi." "Anakin, what happened?" He responded, "You weren't there, Ahsoka. The Jedi Order crumbled within itself. They were traitors. They tried to kill the Chancellor in cold blood. They betrayed the Republic. They betrayed me. They took Padme from me." Anger was beginning to rise again, and he didn't even realize that his lightsaber was back in his hand. But still, Ahsoka was not afraid. How is that possible, Vader thought. Instead, she seemed to stare thousands of systems into the distance. And then she said her name, Padme. Her funeral was beautiful, Anakin, but you weren't there. Do you not realize what you're doing? Hiding from your past, killing every spark of it, all to avoid the reality of what you've become. Anakin, Padme has become one with the Force. Her presence can still be felt, but you've cut her off. You've cut off the light side. If you loved her, Anakin, you would do everything in your power to live in a way that she would have wanted, to make her proud. Ahsoka spoke again as Anakin fought himself. Join me, Anakin. We won't be the rebellion. We won't be the Empire. We will just be us, the best partnership the galaxy has seen, just like old times. Come on, Sky Guy. She was right, and she was giving him permission to be free. Permission to use his power as he wanted, for the first time, maybe ever. Vader thought about it, thought about Padme, what she would want. I will join you, Ahsoka, Anakin said through his voice modulator. The two had engaged in such an emotional moment that the temple crumbling around them had become an afterthought. But as walls inside of Vader crumbled, so did the temple. The two sprinted out of the temple just in time, and they now stood on the outskirts of a broken Sith temple on Malachor. If this was your plan, I must assume you had a way to get off planet, Anakin said, still through Vader's voice. I do, and you may be happy to see the pilot, Ahsoka replied. Happiness wasn't exactly an emotion Anakin had felt in, he couldn't remember how long, but seeing an HWK 290 light freighter come into sight and land near them was certainly a relief. The door opened to reveal a bearded man wearing clone trooper armor. Anakin recognized the armor, and even after all these years, despite wearing the same armor, despite wearing the same face as every other clone, Anakin could tell who this was. Captain Rex, Anakin said slowly, in a voice Rex didn't recognize. Still, Rex looked at him and responded, Good to see you again, sir. Hesitant, but genuine. He knew what Ahsoka's plan was coming in here, and it looked like she had succeeded. This man was not Anakin. But there was still a bit of him inside that Rex could even see. The trio boarded the cruiser together, as they had done so many times in the past. Emperor Palpatine sat in his office on Coruscant. He was just recently informed that the Death Star planet was making excellent progress, when suddenly, he was hit by a feeling in the Force. He knew Vader had gone off to Malachor, where it was thought he may encounter the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. Palpatine had a similar feeling to this when he felt Vader was in trouble on Mustafar versus Obi-Wan, but it wasn't trouble for death that he felt this time. It was peace within Vader. So Anakin continues to survive within my apprentice. My need for him is less than ever, he thought. The next couple weeks involve Vader, Ahsoka, and Rex largely laying low on the cruiser as they all talked about their next moves and what the future would look like. While on the cruiser, Vader was able to search deep within himself, deep within what Anakin wanted, and he knew the fighting didn't need to actually go on forever. Once the fighting was done, once the Emperor was destroyed, he would go to Naboo to settle down, be one with the Force, be one as close to Padme as he could get. And in the next couple weeks here, Vader and the two others had assembled a working meditation chamber with materials from Vader's castle on Mustafar. They'd gotten in and out before the Emperor could send forces there, and now Vader was equipped to live here for now, in his suit. They knew they had to take the Emperor out soon. Ahsoka and Rex planned to help take out the remnants of the Empire afterward, while Vader would go find himself, once the Emperor was finally dead. And Rex had come up with a plan. Over the years since the Empire was formed, and clone troopers were phased out, Rex kept a channel open and helped to relocate at least 1,000 clone troopers. This included Gregor, Wolf, the members of the Bad Batch, including Crosshair, and even Commander Cody. The last time Rex spoke to Cody, he was stationed on Tatooine. He hadn't given much reasoning as to why, except to be with an old friend, he'd said. All of these assembled clones had asked Rex to stay in contact and had made it known that if the time ever came, they would be ready to assemble and fight the Empire head-on. One last battle. Ahsoka and Rex talked about executing this plan in the past, but now having Vader to help lead the charge was the perfect time to use the plan. Anakin, though, was hesitant. This wasn't his plan. He wasn't sure it would work. He wasn't sure Rex knew what they were truly up against. He meditated alone, trying to come to terms with this attack on the Emperor on Coruscant. And as he meditated, a vision of Padme appeared. It was her talking about Rex and Anakin's connection near the end of the Clone Wars. She spoke to him, saying, "You've known Rex a long time. When you throw caution to the wind and take chances, where is he?" Right beside me, Anakin heard his own voice say back to her, "Then maybe that's where you should be, Annie. Trust his instincts, like he trusts yours." The vision ended. Anakin remembered this conversation, but he was Vader now, back in his suit, his agonizing suit. But despite that, despite all the change that had occurred, Padme was still right. He couldn't help but mutter her name. He was different now, and he was living now in her memory. And she was right. Rex was right. This could work. The Emperor could die, and Vader could be free. He walked into the main area of the ship, where Rex and Ahsoka turned to him. He was amazed at how they not only didn't fear him, but they still loved him. Despite everything Vader had done, they loved Anakin and wanted to win this war with him. "Rex, assemble the troops," Anakin said. Rex smiled and gave a holler that brought Anakin back to the Clone Wars. One more battle. Emperor Palpatine had grown a bit more worried than he wanted to admit over the last couple weeks. This move from Vader to disappear with Ahsoka was unpredictable. How could she have convinced him to do this? Vader was beyond broken, and he knew their next move could only be one thing: to destroy him. He didn't know exactly how this was going to take place, but Palpatine could sense a large battle ahead. He had roughly 1,000 troopers gathering discreetly at the Imperial Palace. Causing too much of a scene or a panic could result in a lower-level uprising, so it had to look like business as usual. But something was coming. On Tatooine now, Commander Cody pulled out a comlink to see Rex talking to him. "Cody, it's been a while. If you're ready, the time has come. One more fight with Commander Tano. And Skywalker." Cody was frozen, and so was the man near him, who he'd been secretly residing with. "But Skywalker is gone," Cody replied. Rex responded, "Ahsoka brought him back. He's been with her, and with I now for a few weeks. I know how this sounds, but he's on our side." Cody looked up at Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he simply nodded. "You can count on us, Rex," Cody said before getting more details of the attack and eventually hanging up. Rex said he was calling many more clones, and the attack would happen in about a day. Obi-Wan spoke to Cody, a look of caution and hope in his eyes. "I must meditate on this. When I last saw Anakin, I was convinced he was gone. If the Force shows me the truth that he is truly back, we will go to Coruscant to help. If not, I must stay and protect Luke." Cody understood. Now back to the ship, Ahsoka, Rex, and Anakin were aborted, orbiting the planet of Megiddo. It was under Imperial control, but the banking clan ran it for the most part, allowing Imperials to be more scarce than most planets. Above the planet, all different types of ships began to emerge from hyperspace. They were carrying clone troopers, looking for revenge against the Empire, for the Republic. While they were certainly not in peak physical shape, there was never a battle any of them wanted to win more than this one. Rex noted that just about everyone was here and checked in, but not Cody. Despite that, it was time to go, and Cody knew where they were going to be. Rex gave the signal, and all the ships jumped into hyperspace to Coruscant. Emperor Palpatine looked out his window. He'd gathered some of the finest Imperial troopers at the palace, as they waited for what was to come. Vader betraying him was not ideal, but now he was leading some of the most influential members of the rebellion right to his doorstep. This would be a historic victory for the Empire. And suddenly, it began. Countless ships emerged from hyperspace and began flying down towards the palace. Palpatine sent Imperial ships to counter, forcing the attackers to land. Anakin stared out of the cruiser to the scene below. He'd removed the eyes from his helmet, and although it burned his skin, it allowed him to see the events that would take place next with his own eyes. Below him, the battle to secure his future began. Ships manned by clone troopers took on various assault ships from the Empire in an all-out fight in the Coruscant atmosphere. The goal was eventually to land down on the planet. Ships were being shot down on both sides, crashing into the city below. Anakin and Rex, they knew they were outmatched in the air, so they commenced the main plan. Everyone was to land, and an all-out assault to kill the head of the snake would happen. Upon landing, Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, two warriors who had become close friends and allies during the Clone Wars, found themselves with the aid of 1,000 clone troopers, just like old times. They set out on foot through the bustling streets of Coruscant, dodging blaster fire, weaving their way through the chaos of the city. The clones broke apart, taking different routes to the palace. And as they moved through the city, they encountered Imperial stormtroopers who'd been dispatched to intercept them. A fierce firefight broke out. The Jedi and the clone troopers battled the soldiers of the Empire. Anakin in his suit and Ahsoka moved quickly and decisively, deflecting blaster bolts with their sabers, unleashing powerful force attacks on the enemy troops. They were no match for these, and they led their clone trooper allies into battle, coordinating their efforts, overtaking all stormtrooper battalions on their way to the palace. The battle was intense. It was grueling, with both sides sustaining losses. The clones, however, proved to still be highly effective, despite their years away. And despite the fierce resistance of the stormtroopers, Anakin and Ahsoka were able to push through their ranks, moving closer to their target. They fought their way through the streets of the city, arriving at the stairs of the temple, with hundreds of clones trailing behind them. The stairs were littered now with Imperial troopers of every level, but still no Emperor. After all, he had to keep it hidden from the galaxy that he was a Sith Lord. Reinforcements for the Empire would be on their way, so Anakin and Ahsoka pushed on with their attack, trying to end this as quickly as possible. With clones running past them up the stairs into battle, the two warriors charged. Sprinting up, cutting down Imperial troops, they came across 5 Imperial guards, cutting down clones. Vader just began choking them with the Force, as Ahsoka threw one of her white sabers, cutting them down quickly. And after a bit more moving, they entered the Emperor's office. He stood with his back to them, watching the battle below. "You always did have a strong attachment to the pathetic clone troopers. They will be unable to overcome the sheer might of the Empire." He turned to them. "And how foolish to take on the might of the Emperor. Lord Vader, I give you everything. If it weren't for me, you'd be nothing but a charred corpse on Mustafar. And Ahsoka Tano, the apprentice lives. You would make an excellent Inquisitor. It's not too late to beg for mercy." Anakin was staring at the Emperor with a hot anger. He did save him on Mustafar, but he turned him into a new person. Less than a person. He could barely speak, But Ahsoka eventually spoke up. I would never join someone like you. What you've done, the amount of people you've killed, Palpatine interrupted, it really doesn't scratch the surface of what Lord Vader has done with his own hands. Killing children, families, anyone who got in his way. I felt it since he was a boy. His anger consumed him. He killed the entire Order. Doesn't that make you want to kill him, Ahsoka? Enough, she replied. I don't care about a word you have to say. Your rule ends now, she said defiantly, as she ignited her 2 white sabers. Anakin spoke now. I am here to avenge the deaths of Padme and Anakin. To avenge the life you stole from us. And a smile crept up on Palpatine's lips. So be it. Anakin and Ahsoka leapt forward to attack. The room exploded in a flurry of sparks and lights as the 3 combatants clashed. Sidious was absurdly fast and agile, taking on the highly skilled Anakin and Ahsoka with rather ease. He understood every aspect of Anakin's robotic suit and how to best fight against it. And as the fight continued, he fired a quick blast of lightning to knock Anakin back. Ahsoka jumped in, her skills with a lightsaber impressive to the Emperor. The fight then spilled out of the Emperor's office, onto the balcony overlooking the city of Coruscant. Below them, a fierce battle raged between the clones and the Empire's troops. Blaster fire and explosions filled the air as Anakin and Ahsoka could barely hear their own lightsabers, clashing against Palpatine's. Suddenly, the Sith Lord jumped to the battle below, killing about 20 clones upon landing, with an electric blast radius as he hit the ground. Using their lightsabers to deflect incoming blaster fire, the heroes jumped down to the lower level as well, where they quickly found themselves surrounded by stormtroopers. Anakin and Ahsoka fought with all their might, slicing through enemy lines, pushing forward towards Palpatine. Together, they worked in perfect unison, using their skills and teamwork to keep the Sith Lord at bay. And the battle raged on, for what felt like hours, with no clear victor in sight. But Anakin and Ahsoka refused to give up, fueled by their determination to defeat Palpatine. And finally, with a powerful combination of lightsaber strikes, Anakin and Ahsoka thought they had him. But Palpatine had played them. As Anakin went in for what he thought was a fatal blow, Palpatine laughed and perfectly timed another lightning blast. This one knocking Anakin to the ground as he continued the electricity. His suit started to crumble. Ahsoka screamed and attacked as Palpatine cut her sabers away and began choking her, laughing. Foolish to think you could defeat me. And as he electrocuted Anakin and choked Ahsoka, he was about to end them when a ship rained fire down on them and a man jumped down, lightsaber ignited, to engage Palpatine. Palpatine had to stop choking and stop the lightning as he engaged Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan, gasped Anakin. He saw Ahsoka get up and re-enter the battle, using one of the lightsaber that Vader had dropped. Palpatine was reeling now from this. It was an unexpected twist in the battle. Anakin got back up, lifted tons of rubble from the ground, hurling it at Palpatine. Palpatine fell to the ground, looking at Anakin, who should not have had much strength left from all the lightning, but he was fighting through it. Anakin grabbed a saber thrown to him from Obi-Wan. It was his old blue saber. Obi-Wan must have kept it with him. And Ahsoka, using Anakin's old saber, the red one, cut off the arms of Palpatine and held the saber to his neck. Surrender, she yelled. Palpatine was defeated, but Anakin had seen this before. That won't work, he said before cutting Palpatine's head off in one quick motion. It was over. The trio engaged the battle between the clones and stormtroopers, helping to end it rather quickly, and meeting up with Rex and Cody as the remaining clones charged the palace. Imperial reinforcements would be delayed, as Palpatine could not call them. He was gone. Obi-Wan and Cody looked into Anakin's eyes with disbelief. The group talked about what was the next move, and eventually, everyone's plans were set. Ahsoka and the clones would stay and help the rebellion, help the New Republic get started by finishing off the remnants of the Empire. With the head of the snake gone, they would scatter. Anakin and Ahsoka, they parted ways, as Obi-Wan agreed to take Anakin with him, perhaps to join the fight again in due time. But for now, solitude with the Force was their move. They would stay away from the fight. As Anakin and Obi-Wan departed together, Obi-Wan revealed something to Anakin. "I have someone I think you will love to meet," said Obi-Wan as they entered hyperspace for Tatooine. That's where I'm ending this one. As I warned you at the beginning, it got rather crazy. There was a lot that happened. I hadn't really done it where I brought everyone together, so I wanted to try that, really just name drop everybody. So let me know what you thought. And yeah, I had fun with it. Again, plot holes, I don't care. It was fun to write, hopefully fun to listen to. So thank you. I'll see you in the next video.